Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Tailosive Tech live on YouTube, doing my second piece of content since the invites have gone out, because I totally made that last video that's about 10 minutes long 2 seconds after the event was confirmed. Yes, that's the power of the M1 Max chip. It allows me to work very, very efficiently. And I thought, because the invites are they've been out for a while, they're on everybody's mind, it would be a good time to speculate on precisely what people, that's weird, YouTube Studios is freaking out. Hello? They're good. Okay, we're good. Which is that the invite image is likely the colors of the iPhone, in case you couldn't tell by the thumbnail of the live stream. But, yeah, I guess Pacific Blue seems to be making a comeback from the iPhone 12 days. It looks pretty frickin' identical to Pacific Blue. I don't know what they're going to call it. I would personally just call it that again. The darker blue that's not going to look very different from Space Gray. No more gold, even. Excuse me. I'm still drinking some hot tea with honey because we've got a little bit of a sore throat. But it's been a long day. It's been busy. That's why I'm doing live streams, is because live streams for me, at least in regards to like editing and filming and everything, these are easier. These are more chill. They're a bit more laid back. I didn't plan on talking about analyzing the invite image for, a solid hour and a half. That wasn't the plan. But I figured, because that's probably what most people are thinking about, we could kick off today's live stream with that, and then you guys can ask about other things. Nicholas is already asking a big question. I'll go through that in a second. But essentially, the weirdest part about the invite to me was not the sand, not the colors. That's pretty typical. Usually the iPhone colors are pretty close to what the invite image is showcasing. The weirdest part was, this was the first event in a very, very long time that Apple did not include an AR Easter egg for. Like, for the past, I want to say 4, maybe 5 years, every invite for an event, if you tap on the logo on Apple's website, it would launch this little AR demo, and then you could push your phone through the Apple logo and you'd get a date, or the music would change, and there's just some cool little LiDAR feature set to showcase, hey, this is another way to experience the event invite images. And this was the one time in years that they stopped doing that. The year that they launch Vision Pro, or unveil Vision Pro, I should say, and unveil Vision OS, when they tell us they all have a future for spatial computing, that's the year they decide, okay, we don't need to do a AR demo in the invite image. Like, what? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense as to why they would suddenly stop now, but it probably doesn't mean too much. Maybe they figured, well, before, the invites were teasing that we were eventually going to do spatial computing. But now that everybody knows we're doing spatial computing, we don't need to tease it anymore. Or maybe the marketing team is just pushed for time or something. Yeah, like Jacob said, AR team is too busy finishing Vision Pro. Yeah, there was no spatial computing engineers to spare. They had to put all of their time and attention directly on the whole Vision Pro project, because that, at least from what I've gathered from the leaks and rumors, is a big, colossal nightmare, particularly the EyeSight display. They still have big developers coming to Apple's headquarters and trying out Vision Pro, and so far all of the developers that have gone to Apple's headquarters have said that the EyeSight display is still not working. And my guess is they are not quite sure how to get it to work. And I have a feeling, it's just a suspicion. I don't have sources. No one tells me anything. I don't know people that work at Apple. But I just have this impression that Vision Pro is, of course, the most complicated, what did they call it at the event? It's the most intricate, or it's the most complex electronic device ever made. Think of all those cameras, the M2 chip and the R1 chip, and this micro OLED display has never been mass produced before. And they're trying to do a lenticular display on the outside. And I think it might just end up being too much. And they might have to they'll probably delay the product several times, and then maybe do an update event where they maybe put the M3 chip in there instead of the M2. And this is a stretch, but I personally think they might end up scrapping the eyesight display. Simply because I think that's what most people were critiquing it for when it came out. Everyone kept saying, okay, for one, in the demos where they let journalists and YouTubers try it, it wasn't working. And now the developers still say it's not working. Not only that, but even if it was working, most of the journalists and YouTubers that were reviewing the Vision Pro were like, I don't really get what the point is of that display. If the goal is to make it more human and more lifelike, it doesn't really accomplish that goal, because every time someone looks at a video of someone with the artificial lenticular display on the outside, the eyesight, everyone says, that just looks weird. That just looks bizarre. So even if they get it working, there's still going to be a social acceptance problem. And I feel like you don't need to see the eyes of the wearer. Like, we don't do that with sunglasses, even though we can see through those. And this whole, Randy did this thing. Like, you're laying down on a plane and your eyes are closed, but then the flight attendant walks by, so it's just the opaque, little visualizer on the eyesight display. And then when you open your eyes, it's like, is is that more natural? Or is it just better to just have a black, shade on the outside? I don't think people are going to be using this thing around other people all that much anyway. They definitely showcased a lot of demos of people like all by themselves wearing it, not wearing it around other people. So I don't know, it would be a big stretch, but I've seen Apple unveil things prematurely before, like AirPower. I know we all like to think we're past the days of AirPower. That would never happen again, but the truth is that wasn't that long ago, and it could totally happen again. Okay, I gotta catch up with the chat here a little bit. Daniel Holloway likes stainless steel. There's something we don't agree on, Daniel. I am more than happy that they're getting rid of stainless steel. I can't stand the fingerprints. Okay, Nicholas said, I need some advice. I think you might be able to give me a hand in assisting the situation. Context. Mike grandma is an iPhone 8. I need a regular iPhone 12. I'm thinking about upgrading my iPhone this year to the 15 Ultra due to the rumors of increased battery life, the periscope zoom lens. Happy with my iPhone 12, except I want bigger screen with more battery. Oh, bigger screen with more battery. That's why I'm thinking of upgrading this year. In turn, I'm hoping my iPhone 12 can go to a new home of my grandma. Do you think this is a good eco-friendly solution? If I want to upgrade my phone, do you think the upgrade from the 8 to the 12 would be good for my grandma? Yeah, why not? Is there a debate to be had there? No! Your grandma will hate the iPhone 12. Give your grandma the 15 Plus and you keep the iPhone 12. No, I don't know. No, you know her better than I do. I don't know your grandma. My grandma doesn't use... My grandma never even used a computer. One of them. The other grandma has, but my other grandma, who's been on my Tailosive Life channel a few times, is 97, and she just totally skipped the whole computer era. She never owned a computer. She never had one. She still doesn't, and she doesn't care to learn. I don't blame her. I think it's totally fine. She just has her cable TV and she watches the local news and everything. But yeah, that sounds like a decent solution. I mean, ordinarily I'd probably recommend you just buy a refurbished or used 13 Pro Max or 14 Pro Max, but now that it's almost confirmed, not quite, but it's fairly likely that the iPhone is switching to Type-C, it suddenly becomes very, very hard to recommend any iPhone with Lightning. So for everybody rocking iPhones now, I tend to just say, hold on to what you got as long as you can, and wait until you can get a USB-C iPhone for cheaper, because it just feels like wrong and immature, and like you're setting yourself up for another replacement in the future if you just buy another even $500 or $800 iPhone today that has Lightning, because that port's on its way out and it's moving on. So yeah, I think if you're more into USB-C and she already has an iPhone 8 that's used to Lightning, then sure, switching to the 12 should be an easy transition for her. Other than, I guess, the lack of home button, that might be a little annoying. But Tom Davis, thank you for joining Tailosive Tech Plus. I appreciate that. Thank you. They said they used zero CGI to show the Vision Pro. Everything was actually done on it. I think they were referring to the holograms. I'm not sure they were referring to the exterior display. I know the interview you're talking about, but they said they didn't render the Vision OS artifacts on a Mac Pro with an M2 Ultra and then stitch those on. All of the Vision OS artifacts were shot, were rendered on device with the M2 chip. I'm not sure that means that they didn't use any CGI. I'm sure they use some CGI, in fact, because there's the whole unveiling. If you just scroll through the website, most of that's computer generated. It has to be. There's no way you can film that. Can I cut to that here? Does that work? Yeah. All this stuff. Yeah. I do not believe this was all shot in camera. And of course, it wasn't shot on an iPhone, that's for sure. This is all renderings. So, I mean, and even if you're right, maybe you are right, and they have a couple prototypes with the iSight display working. Even if that's the case, the question on whether or not they can scale it is a different one. It's very easy to build one of something, much, much harder to build several. Or thousands, which is what they have to do here. The thing is, the iSight is the difference between the Vision Pro and the competition. I disagree with that. I keep hearing people say that. I fundamentally disagree. The biggest difference between Vision Pro and the competition has nothing to do with the display on the outside. That's ridiculous. The biggest difference is you don't need a controller, and it's running Vision OS, and it's controlled by your eyes and your hand motions. So you have Apple Silicon, which is more power efficient and capable than any other silicon that's being put in headsets right now. You know, the Meta Quest devices are like, I think the guy from The Verge summarized it very well. He said, all those Meta headsets are like putting a mid-range or... No, really, it's pretty much like putting a mid-range Android phone on your face. Vision Pro is like putting a MacBook on your face in terms of raw computational power. And they're not going for completely submerged VR experiences with the headset. Vision OS is more about spatial computing, which sure is another fancy Apple hype word for AR, but there is a fundamental difference there because their idea is to put apps and stitch reality again together within that headset, which has not been a big focus of other headsets. They can do it, but it's not been what they've been focusing on. The micro OLED, the R1 chip, the M2 chip, all of those are the main advantages of Vision Pro. That's what separates them from the competition. I don't see how the iSight makes a big difference at all. That's purely just how other people see you with it on, which Apple has already... I'm looking at the website right now. Apple's already advertising it half the time with you all by yourself. Who cares if she has her eyes on the outside of her face? No one can see her. Same thing here. This guy's all by himself playing some video game. This person's... watching his kids, I guess, with a spatial video, all by himself. This guy's looking at a panoramic shot. Does he need to have his eyes pasted on the outside? No. I would say like 90% of the marketing... Oh, and yeah, if you're doing these FaceTime calls, they can't see you on the outside. They have to stitch together your face again. Same thing here. All by yourself. Like, most of the time, it's going to look like this, basically. The iSight display, in my opinion, is extremely niche. For one, it's just creepy. Like, it doesn't look natural. Look at that. Does that make it more human? The design is very human. Like, I think they should totally scrap that. And I know I'm not alone in that. There were so many YouTubers that were all like, no, we don't need that. Let's see. It should be game-changing. I was more alluding to the experience for those around. I just don't think most people are going to wear it around other people. And I think the other people around you are still going to think it's weird. They're going to think you look weird with the iSight display, and they're going to think you look weird without the iSight display. Yeah, that's just how it's going to be. Wow, Tom Davis has been a viewer since 2016, 2017. I apologize. I've wasted so much of your time over the years. But thank you. I appreciate you signing up. James Sanders Cedarloft says, I'd still use wireless charging even when I upgrade, although I don't have plans to upgrade from my 13 Pro in the immediate future. That's good. 13 Pro is a beast of a phone. If my mom did not need an upgrade, I would probably still be rocking the 13 Pro Max right now. That was one of the main motivations with me downgrading, was like, my mom kept asking when I was going to switch phones, and I said, okay, you can have this one. Sorry. No point anyway because it's $3,500. Just get a Mac. Well, a Mac isn't going to do the same thing that this is going to do, but I don't know yet. I haven't tried it out. I can't write it off entirely, but a Mac isn't going to run Vision OS. A Mac isn't going to put an infinitely large display on your wall. Mac's not going to have hand tracking. Well, I guess if you put your finger on the trackpad, it tracks your finger, but it's going okay, Jake Ree. It's been kind of a busy day. Lots of doctor's appointments and surgeries and fun stuff. And I'm getting like a sore throat. And we're trying to schedule the podcast. I know. I apologize. The podcast has taken a longer break than usual. It's just been hard to get schedules aligned and everybody's traveling and all over the place. But we're trying. I'm trying my best, okay? So hang in there. So it's all good stuff, just busy stuff. Thank you, AJ. That was a very generous super chat. Wow, he said, the 60 hertz versus 120 hertz debate is rising again on Elon's platform. Do you prefer saying that? I'd rather say X than Elon's platform. That sounds worse. For days. I've mentioned you in Twitter on one of the 120 hertz benefits tweet. How long do we want to do this is my question. Like, do you guys, does this matter that much to you? It's kind of simple. It's like the tech community cares a lot. The average consumer doesn't. Is there more to it than that? Like, what else should we say? Yes, I noticed the difference, but whatever. Like, I totally get why Apple doesn't want to put that on their mainstream products, because I've tried to show the difference between ProMotion and motion on I've tried it on all my friends and family members, and no one can pick it up. And then someone in the tech community says, yeah, but subconsciously they may not. Okay, so you want to charge people extra for something they feel subconsciously? No, don't try to convince people they need to spend more money. In this economic climate, we don't need to convince people they should be spending more on their tech products. If anything, I'm doing my best on this channel to encourage people to save more of their money, because if I've learned anything from downgrading my phone, selling my iPad, wearing my watch less, no Apple Watch. Gotta even out this tan. Look at this. Apple's branded me with their products. We love the way your wrist looks weird now. Your tan is not equal anymore. No, we got to convince people to put more money aside and invest it for like retirement, because there's too many Americans and probably people in other countries that are living paycheck to paycheck. And yes, a lot of that comes from income problems, but it also comes from lifestyle creep and people spending more than they should, and being told by the media or by other tech YouTubers that they need to buy such and such. You need to buy the latest and greatest thing. You really don't. Okay? I'm going to push you as much as I can to try to live with what you have, because we have thousands of tech channels all trying to convince you that you have a problem with what you have. You shouldn't be satisfied. You shouldn't be content with what you have, and you need to go out and buy a solution. And here's the solution. And I get a piece of that with this affiliate link. And I'm trying to fight that narrative as much as I can. Tom says, my girlfriend's 11 broke and she was going to have my 14 Pro, and I got the 15 Pro. It got so bad and I wanted to try a mini, so I ordered a 13 mini on Amazon, but didn't realize I had an 11 lying about. Oh! So currently you have 3 phones. I'm going to take the Navy 15 Pro, my last iPhone for a while. I went Navy all the thing. You know, Amazon should have a decent return policy. I don't know how long you've had it, if you want to just send it back. But the 13 mini is a great phone. It's a great phone with one single problem, which is the lightning connector. But if you use MagSafe most of the time, then yeah, no big deal. 13 mini's great. I would even debate you should just pass on the 15 Pro. At least wait, maybe if you care that much about it. Like, you can just wait a few months and buy it refurbished. Alex Lancaster says, I prefer filming at high frame rates. So do I. I prefer the higher frame rates too, but YouTube kind of caps us at 60, not 120. That would be fascinating if YouTube actually started supporting 120 FPS videos, but I think it would just be too big of a headache on the back end. The processing would take longer, the data would be higher, it would take longer to export the videos, and very few people could honestly tell the difference. The higher FPS you go, the less noticeable it is to the average person. There's still a ton of people that can't see the difference between 24 and 60. Maybe if you put it side by side, but... Tom says he just got it today. 365-day return policy. Oh, did you get renewed premium? That's cool. So you could just hold on to it for 360 days and send it back, but you probably shouldn't do that. Lucid Air Pure or Model S long range. Whichever one has NACS. Come on. You see this thing next? You know what the answer to that question was. The answer is Model 3 rear-wheel drive, which is the car I have. Yes, YJ Choi, I agree. Sand equals time like hourglass, so clock app on iPhone and watch confirmed, and it will blow us away. I think the iPhone and watch have a clock. No, wait. WatchOS 10 got rid of that. I think on WatchOS 10 there's no more like clock app. There's a alarms app and a stopwatch app and a world clock, but there's no longer just a clock in the center. I've been hearing people sponsored talking about the $250 webcam to replace the MacBook webcam, and it's like whole spending money on a webcam if they already have one. Not only that, okay, you're right. I agree with you, Jakery. $250 for a webcam seems a bit much, and the webcams that we build into our Macs already are decent. I say we like I'm part of Apple. I'm not. That Apple builds into the MacBook Pro. They're already decent webcams. They're fine for video calls and everything. Even live streaming you can do on those webcams. It's really not that big a deal. But even if, for whatever reason, you're not satisfied with the webcam on your Mac, just freaking use continuity camera. Even an older iPhone, which you could get for way less than $250, is going to be a huge upgrade over the built-in webcam. Like, you could get, like, the iPhone SE2, which is the phone I used to be rocking. You can find those for under $200 on eBay. Maybe even Amazon. And eBay has tons of buyer protection. Everyone's worried, I'm going to get scammed if I buy something on eBay. No, you'll probably get scammed if you sell something on eBay, but not buy. They always side with the customer. Just buy from certified refurbished, and you get a lot of extra perks and warranty and everything. But you just use an iPhone with continuity camera. Most of these people buying the dedicated webcam probably have an iPhone with a better camera. That's going to work so much better than whatever the sponsored... I don't know what brand it is, but no. I think ever since continuity camera came out, I am way past the time of buying dedicated webcams anymore. Like, that's just ridiculous. I've seen the Opal C1, and trust me, they aren't worth $250. Yeah, fair enough. Concept Central says, you're going to be my background audio while I work on some iPhone renders. Oh, cool. Concept Central's in the chat. I don't know if you guys have followed them on X. Do you have a YouTube channel? Can I click? Why does YouTube make it so hard? Anyway, Concept Central is an amazing concept artist. They've done some amazing renders that I have used in my thumbnails, and lots of people have used. I think Apple Track has used them. But hey, thanks for tuning in. He said, just wanted to ask how/if you expect the iPhone Ultra to gain 3D photo video capture to integrate with Vision Pro. Great question. That would be really cool if they did, but personally I don't think it's possible. Mainly because the way spatial video or 3D video or photo capture, like you said, is that the Vision Pro has multiple lenses on the headset, and it's recording from both simultaneously. And the main way they achieve that spatial video is by having two camera lenses at about eyes distance away from each other. And you can do that when you're wearing a headset because there's cameras and stuff all over it. But with the iPhone, the cameras are like way closer together. So if they put like, I need an example. I'm using my iPhone 11 as the webcam right now, so I can't hold that up. What could I use? All right. Let's just pretend this is an iPhone 14 or something. But if this was a bigger, I could just grab a box, I guess. Whatever. Okay. If you had an iPhone 14 or 15 and you put one camera on this end and another camera on this end. Okay, you know what? I changed my mind. This is going to look better if I do it with you. This is closest to the size of 15 Ultra or whatever, because this was a box for a 13 Pro Max. So if one day, they're not going to do this, I doubt it, but if one day they put a camera bump here like they already have, but then another camera here, hold that up to my eye line, yeah, now you've got multiple lenses that would be at about eyes distance, so you could accurately capture that spatial video. But no, with the current camera setup, just like this and the little stovetop design, I don't personally think they could fit a spatial video. Maybe they have some machine learning algorithmic, you need the right amount of neural cores on your chip. You need to get the right A17 chip and it can stitch together the extra space. Maybe they know something I don't, but as far as I can understand it, I don't think they can. Or if they come up with a way to do spatial video on the iPhone, it'll probably be compromised in some way. Like, it won't be as good as the Vision Pros. That's my guess. If I could be wrong, though. Feel free to correct me if you don't think that's true. Drew, don't you think they're going to introduce the Lightning to USB-C dongle for prior phones? That would make a lot of sense. I don't think it's necessary, personally, because unlike the switch to Lightning, which they did back in 2012, iPhone 5, when they switched to Lightning from 30-pin, nothing had Lightning. It was a brand new connector. No one had heard of it. There was no Lightning cables, no Lightning accessories. They were starting from scratch. This is not the same thing at all. For one, back in the iPhone 4S days, not only was 30-pin on a bunch of things, but we didn't have as much Bluetooth and wireless as we do now. So there were a ton of people with cars and iHome little docks, the little digital alarm clock speaker that everyone had. Those had 30-pin connectors built into them. But now, these days, there's so much more wireless audio anyway. Wireless charging built into cars, like my car uses a Qi charger, and people have wireless CarPlay now. So the idea that this is going to be a more complex transition, when the truth is, the iPhone is switching to a port that Apple has been shipping for 8 years. Apple's first USB-C product came out in 2015. That was over 8 years ago. Okay, so anybody who has an iPad or a Mac that's somewhat recent is already going to have USB-C cables around. If you're coming from an Android, you'll definitely have USB-C cables around. And GoPros ship with USB-C. My freaking nose trimmer comes with a USB-C charger. So they could, if they're feeling generous, if they feel like they want to ease this transition, they could ship a Lightning to USB-C little adapter. I don't even know if it needs to be a dongle. It could just be a tiny little adapter with no wire that just converts any Lightning cable into a USB-C cable. I personally would recommend that to Apple because that would probably alleviate a lot of the e-waste arguments. Because in the past they said, we don't want to switch the connector because then all the old Lightning cables stop working, and that creates e-waste. Well, if you just ship that tiny little adapter, which third parties already make, it's not like it's some impossible contraption. No one's been able to get the pins right. No, they exist. I've seen them out there. There's Lightning to USB-C adapters. Apple just makes their own, includes it with every iPhone, and now you can say, boom, every Lightning cable became a Type-C cable. You don't have to throw them away. There's no e-waste. I guess unless you already have USB-C cables, so you don't use that adapter. But I think that tiny little adapter is probably going to be less harmful for e-waste than throwing out the whole old charger. So I think they should, but I'm not convinced they will. They don't have to, but it would be a good idea. I hope they do it. They included a headphone jack to Lightning adapter when they got rid of the headphone jack. That's pretty recent. But I don't believe when they switched to the iPhone 5 Lightning port, they didn't include an adapter with every phone. I think they expected everybody to. But back then they did include a whole new charger, to be fair. So they included a charge brick with a Lightning cable inside. So. Hey, thank you, Option Command Media, for the super chat. Tailosive Tech, thoughts on pumpkin spice flavored things? I haven't had any in a long time. I had some pumpkin donuts last month, though. That was, or was that? That was this month, actually. That was earlier this month when I was in Idaho. Those were good. Yeah, I like pumpkin spice things, sure. I don't go to Starbucks all the time like some people do, but especially now. Randy was like my Starbucks friend. He was the friend that always went to Starbucks and got all the drinks. And even he now is saying, I feel ripped off because I figured out how to make all of my favorite Starbucks drinks from home. And he realized how much cheaper it is to just mix it from home. And my wife does that too. She gets this little, mocha coffee sugary drink. It's not coffee. I don't like straight coffee, but I don't mind coffee flavored things, but I don't like straight coffee. But she makes these little blended mocha drinks that are really good. So ever since I've figured out how insanely cheap beverages are to mix and make from home, you're not going to want to go out and buy drinks anymore. I pretty much only go to Starbucks or Dutch Brothers when it's my birthday because they'll give you a free drink on your birthday. So whenever it's my birthday, I just travel around to all the... Idaho, you didn't tell me? I did say that. I thought I said that when I was there. You didn't watch? Come on. Ooh, Pecan says favorite Filipino food. Great question. Lumpia's up there, but I also love crispy pata. We had a lot of crispy pata on my trip. And of course, who doesn't like a good lechon baboy? Ace Rocks text is the upper left part of the Apple on invite, the C. Does it kind of resemble the side of the Apple Watch where you insert the watch band? Nope. I don't even have to look at the invite, Ace. I'm telling you right now, you're overthinking. It's just the colors. That's literally all it is. Don't overthink it. The M1 Pro MacBook webcam isn't great, but it isn't bad. It does the job for being a webcam. Well, it's in the name. Think about it for a second. Webcam. The camera that most people use on their MacBook is used for video calls, which are most likely going to be limited by your bandwidth, not the sensor in the computer. Like, when you're having a video call with someone, usually the bitrate is not going to be very good. Or your internet isn't that stable. So maybe if you have great internet and the other person has great internet, sure, that webcam becomes kind of helpful. But other than that, I mean, how many people are live streaming with that webcam or just recording videos, I guess, with their webcam? There's some content creators, sure, but again, they're going to use their phone. Just use your iPhone. It's fine. It says, I can't help it. That's okay. There's not that. It's literally the Apple logo. Option Command Media says, I did that too. Much better deal to make it. Oh, yeah. It's insane. This is a side topic. I'm sorry. You guys probably want tech talk, but you're asking non-tech questions, so I'm kind of at your leisure. You guys are shifting me away. Basically, the beverage industry is extremely profitable. That's why it's no longer called Dunkin' Donuts. They used to be the donut company that happened to sell coffee, but once they started getting into the beverage business and selling all kinds of different flavored coffee drinks and mochas and smoothies and all that, the reason they rebranded was because more of their revenue was coming from drinks than it was donuts. So that's why they changed the name to Dunkin'. They dropped the donuts. They still sell donuts, but it's not their primary form of income. And for the same reason Starbucks is insanely popular is because it does not cost them very much to make those drinks. And they will charge $5, $6, $7, sometimes $8 or $9 for a venti, frappuccino, macchiato, blah, 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 blah. All that crap is just like pennies. Probably every single drink they sell, I bet you, costs less than $1 to make. And sometimes they sell it for $8, $9. Most of that price, I'm not saying that they're like extremely, I mean, they are very profitable, but most of that you're paying for is the labor. It's mostly going towards the employee who, follows a probably 4-step instruction manual on a little pamphlet that says, here's how to make the macchiato. 3 pumps this, 2 pumps this, blend it, put the whipped cream on top and hand it to the customer. You're paying for that. And once more and more people like Randy and myself have started discovering, that's actually really, really cheap and really, really easy to do at home. Yeah, you don't want to go out for drinks anymore. What camera am I streaming with? This is an iPhone 11 on continuity camera. I'm actually on my iMac Pro. Where is my MacBook? It's over there somewhere. But because this screen is bigger, it's easier to read the chat, and I prefer having the camera up higher. So I just figured this can be my little live streaming setup. Iced oat milk shaken espresso with cinnamon, no sugar. There you go. Look up all the ingredients. Find out how to make it from home. You'll save so much money. My dad has a Starbucks addiction and goes multiple times a day, so I connected my Delta account and get thousands of SkyMiles. Well, good for you, not good for your dad. Well, it sounds like he's doing pretty well for himself. Anyway, it's nanotech flowing in the invite. Next material for the iPhone. No, you're supposed to say, it's nanotech. You like it? RDJ quote right there. I don't understand how Apple will make the cheaper iPhones have slower charging speeds. Huh? You don't what about that don't you understand? Why would they want the cheaper iPhones to have faster charging speeds? Honestly, they're not that different. I've been pretty disappointed by the rumors for the faster charging speeds. I saw a few articles. I didn't really talk about them because it didn't seem like a big deal. But people were like, the USB-C iPhone is rumored to charge at 35 watts. I was like, that's it? Like, what? Like, they already charge at what? Like, I think they max out at 27? Or is it 20? I don't know. 35 did not seem that impressive considering what we know USB-C is capable of. So, whether your phone charges at 20 watts or 35 watt, I don't think it's that big a deal personally. There's definitely other Android phones on the market that can do, 60, 70, some of them 100 watts, maybe more, I think. Some of those Chinese brands have like 150 watt chargers or whatever. That's ridiculous. I think that's totally unnecessary for a phone. If you're often charging your phone that quickly, something's wrong with you. Like, you're just a very forgetful person. Just plug it in at night. I can understand, okay, maybe you want a long battery life because you're using your phone all day and, excuse me, you're using your phone all day and, you're away from a charger, you're out in the field, so you can't charge it. Okay, I can get that. But the idea that your phone is dying before the end of the day, and you need to plug it in and charge it within like 5 minutes and get to a full and then keep going again. What? Like, what use case is that? Who is like killing their phone before the end of the day, but then only has 5 minutes to charge it? I think you just need a battery bank. But yeah, I don't think the charge speed is that big a deal. 14 Pro Max is 29 watts, so 6 more, but 29 already feels so fast. Well, yeah, the batteries are so small, it doesn't, because iPhones are always about that efficiency game. They rarely put in 5,000 milliamp hours. Just this year now, we're getting something close to 5,000, but it's not quite. Thank you, everyone's blessing me. Yeah, the phone charges fast enough. Did we decide if the invite has any Easter eggs? Yeah, it's the colors. That's it. I'm like 99% certain. The invite is just the colors of the Apple logo or the colors of the iPhone Pros. That's all it is. It's not really a surprise. Nicholas says, with Disney being on a downward hill slope in terms of market cap and revenue, do you think we could see a possible Apple acquisition? It was surprising to see you, Bob Iger, helping to launch Vision Pro. Wait, you say you? I'm not Bob Iger. I hope you understand that. Please, don't be mad at me. Yeah, I saw a few people talk about that. There was a few headlines about it. I personally, I know Disney has had better days, but I don't really think they're in that much trouble. I don't think they want to be bought out. I think they'd rather be independent. I don't have a complete understanding on Disney's business model. I know that there's some market cap decline, but I've heard they make a ton of their money just through merchandising, like toys, and the theme parks. Like, the theme parks make so much money, they could just scrap the whole. They could scrap the whole movie business, and they'd probably still be profitable. So yeah, it's been talked about many times. I remember everyone talking about it 5 years ago, and it never turned into anything. So I also think even if they did want to get bought out, for one, Apple's always so cautious and careful. They don't like to buy out big companies very often. Probably the biggest one ever was Beats, and Beats is probably way smaller than Disney. What is Disney at? I don't really follow their stock. What are they worth today? If I wanted to buy a Disney, not his frozen head, but the company. Oh God, no. Their market cap is 154 billion. No, Apple's not going to buy that. That's ridiculous. No. The biggest buyout they ever did was Beats for $3 billion. The idea that they would jump to 154. Okay, for one, I don't think Apple has that much cash on hand. But even if they did have that much cash on hand, I feel like the antitrust would be concerned about monopoly practices because Apple TV Plus in some ways competes with Disney Plus. So if they saw a big acquisition like that, they would probably get mad at Apple. So nothing's impossible, but I'm gonna say not likely. I doubt it. People say don't charge to 100. Well, it's a phone. I mean, if you're worried about degradation, then don't touch it because using the phone will hurt it. it will charge 50% in 25 minutes, not like the 50% in 30 minutes. Yeah, that's a big difference, isn't it? They said Ahsoka's first episode was 14 million. I don't know. Is that good? I can't keep up. They diluted. I agree with Liam Neeson. He was the one who said that they're making too much Star Wars content. Qui-Gon Jinn, very wise man. He was like, if you make too many spin-offs and shows, you dilute it. People can't keep up with it, and then they don't feel familiar with it, which is, I think, what's happening. They just overran it. They made too many movies and too many shows all at once, and now people are like, what? I can't keep up anymore. Let's see. With my budget, I'm stuck whether to buy an iPhone 15 or 14 Pro. What's your recommendation? I don't know what you have now, but I'm going to urge you to keep what you have now and wait. I definitely wouldn't say get a 14 Pro, especially right now. It couldn't be a worse time to get a 14 Pro. They don't need all the cash on hand. They could pay partially, maybe even majority in Apple stock. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. The company is giving up assets to acquire a brand. The stockholders are going to look at that the same way, whether you used cash or not. I think if they started giving away stock in the company, that would probably make the shareholders feel even more concerned. Buying it with cash would probably be the easiest way to do it. I know that there's legally ways they can get around that, but it's not. For one, if it's declining so much, why would Apple want it? If it's doing that poorly, why would Apple want to get in on that? Let's see. My phone can charge to 100% in 39 minutes. That's great. I'm still going to be asleep when it hits 100, but good for you. Tom Davis says, how's watchOS 10 been for you? I haven't got the beta on my Graphite Series 7. Hey, we got the same watch. So when it comes out, mine will feel like a Series 9. That will pretty much be the only change. Yeah. No, it didn't really grow on me. I ultimately, fundamentally kind of hated the direction they took watchOS in. It just felt like they kept removing things out of boredom. And now, especially with the rumors surrounding the Apple Watch Series 10, now they're going to change the band connector so that they can make it thinner. I'm like, you know what? What are you guys doing? It feels like, the truth is the Apple Watch kind of peaked already. Like, they kind of ran out of things to do with it. They stuffed as many health sensors as they could. They got the most efficient possible chip in there, and they stuffed a huge battery in there, and now they're just like, I don't know, let's just start trying things. Let's just throw things at the wall. Let's put widgets on there. Let's move Control Center. Let's get rid of the watch face sliding, and let's change the home screen. It just felt like they weren't thinking about it. They weren't thinking, like, how do we make it better? They were just thinking, how do we make it different so that there's differences between watchOS 10 and 9, so I guess YouTubers have something to talk about. I don't know what their logic is. I think the product is kind of matured, but because it's Apple, it's this big $1 trillion company, and they have quotas to reach, and they have schedules where they're just like, hey, we got to have Dub in June every year. The watchOS team, you better come out with something to talk about. You need to fill 15 minutes of screen time with changes, and I don't think it needs it, but they can't really go anywhere with it, so that's why I'm kind of done with it. I'm kind of like, okay, now you're just changing for the sake of changing. There used to be years where they would roll out things and I'd be like, oh, that's really cool. That makes sense. Or, oh, nice. That makes it better. And this was not that. Everything was just like, nope, still no, and no. Am I using the iPhone 11 as the camera? Yes, this is the iPhone 11 camera right there. I know everyone is so amazed by that. Reed Gruber's thoughts on the USB-C switch. He thinks everyday users might be mad over the switch. Of course they will. Everyday users are mad when they switch phones. Everyday users are mad that a new iPhone comes out. So what does Apple do? Just not release one? That's a stupid thing to criticize. Like, everyday users don't like having to switch their... Everyday users want to buy one phone that lasts 100 years. Of course they'll be angry, but they'll get over it just like they got over the last one. People were way, way angrier when they switched to Lightning. USB-C is not that hard to transition. Most people already have a USB-C cable of some kind. USB-C is not a new port. Most people are doing wireless stuff anyway. They Bluetooth to things, or they cast to things, or they, AirPlay. They've got MagSafe charging and stuff. Like this is going to be such a piece of cake transition compared to the Lightning port. This is going to be way easier. Of course, there will be people that are mad, but okay, you don't have to upgrade. If you really, really love Lightning that much, congratulations. The 14 Pros just got cheaper. You'll be able to buy a 14 Pro for way more affordably in the next couple weeks because the resale value of those is going to drop. It probably already is dropping now that the 15s are coming. Less and less people maybe will want to buy a Lightning iPhone at that point, which will push the resale value down. So everybody wins. You can hold on to your 14 Pro as long as you want. You probably get software support for 7, maybe 8 years. And then, okay, then there will be like $200 USB-C iPhones by then, likely, on the used market. It's fine. It's fine. I don't know what Gruber said, but I think that's a stupid... we should keep Lightning because people might get mad if you change the connector. Okay, you could have made that same argument when they introduced Lightning. Could have said the exact same thing. We should keep 30-pin because lots of people have 30-pin accessories. And then you go, yeah, but Lightning's better than 30-pin. Okay, well, USB-C is better than Lightning, so doesn't hold up. I was expecting a video after you teased your empty wrist, but it never happened. I'm working on it. It's been busy, and I haven't had time to get around to it. Would have probably done it earlier in the week, but I was like, okay, I want to do a video on the iPhone 15 colors, and I should probably do that before the event gets announced. Now that I've seen the invite, I guess it didn't matter, but I had to record the invite video too and edit that ahead of time so that it could drop 2 seconds after the event was announced. But then I had a bunch of stuff going on today. Tyler Forte is watching from work. Ooh, Tyler Forte's boss. This guy's slacking. That's not what he said. Okay, well, rather than me go find some article that I don't know where to find it is, can you just summarize the opinion or share the opinion and put it in the chat so I don't have to ignore all the other messages I'm getting? That would be more efficient. Have I replaced batteries on my old phones? Not mine specifically. Well, I haven't per se. Like my mom had my iPhone 10 for several years, and a couple of years after she owned it, she swapped the battery in it. And then my sister had an iPhone 6. I don't think that was mine though. I think that was someone else's. And we got her battery replaced. But my personal iPhones, no, I haven't reached a point where... I mean, my battery health has gone down. Like my last iPhone, the SE2, was on 78% battery health, but it still said peak performance capability. It was still working fine. There wasn't really any massive problems, so I just kept living with it. And I was trying to make a point that just because your battery health doesn't go down, it doesn't mean the world's ending, and you can still live with it, and it works. It's functional. A lot of people are like, well, if the battery health is below 80, you might as well throw the whole phone out. Don't even touch it until you get a battery replacement. And I'm like, you don't need to act like the phone is worthless if the battery health goes down. You just charge it when it gets low. Excuse me. Johannes Thomas says, I just want the 15 for USB-C. Everything else is just a bonus. Yeah, I'm pretty much there with you. I would totally buy a 13 mini if it had USB-C. That would be like dream iPhone right there. I don't care about Dynamic Island. I don't care about the 48 megapixel sensor. After traveling as much as I have, I am sick of all of the cables I need to pack. So I've just made a promise to myself that, okay, if I buy more tech in the future, it has to have Type-C so that I can pack this one charger and charge everything. Maybe 2 cables, but as long as both of those cables are Type-C, it's going to be a lot easier to, when you're at an airport, pull the cable out of the backpack. You don't have to be like, which cable is this? Which cable is it? That just kept coming up, especially through all the security. Philippines, wonderful country. I love the Philippines, but your airports suck. Royally suck. I mean, American airports are already annoying, but Philippines is on, If American airports were like Android, here's how I would rank travel, okay? Driving a Tesla to my destination is like using an iPhone. It's just simple, it's easy, it works. Flying somewhere where you have to go through security and check into your flight and get the boarding pass, that's like using an Android phone. I can do it. I've done it before. It's not ideal, but it works. I don't hate Android. I just prefer iOS. But going to a Filipino airport is like using a Windows computer. Oh my God, I just want to die. It's miserable. You make it go through security like 3 times. The check-in processes are terrible. The power outlets were not accessible. The food options were crap. Oh, it was awful. Let's see. Hilarious, they announced Find My for TV remote, and we are on the last beta, and it's still not there. I still don't understand how it works. I guess it just uses Bluetooth signal, but I don't think it's going to work all that well. Excuse me. Nicholas says, do you connect with any other tech YouTubers? I remember back in the day when you did a collab with MKBHD. Twice, actually, I've collabed with him. Yeah, sometimes. Mostly other EV YouTubers, I guess. Not as much tech YouTubers, but yeah, nothing like ongoing, I'd say. Pizza toast. What is pizza toast, Mike? Please explain more. I love both of those things, but I've never heard them put together. Why do I hate Windows? Oh, don't get me started. I've owned several Windows computers, for the record. It's not that I haven't tried it. I used to say, okay, I'm going to give PCs a try here. I'm going to try Windows. Oh, driver corruption, updates upon updates, apps not opening, slowing down, installing software without my permission, updates taking forever. The driver corruption really upset me. I just woke up and suddenly my webcam doesn't work anymore because of a unconsensual software update that happened overnight. Like, what? What? I've not tried Linux, so I don't have an opinion on it. But my guess is it's fine. I just prefer Mac OS. The main reason I like Mac OS is how well it works with my ecosystem. So unless you find me an OS that works well with the ecosystem, then I'm not going to care all that much. I never had a problem with Windows when I used them previous years, but once I switched to Mac, I can't even imagine myself going back. Yeah, at this point, it would be very stupid for me to switch to Windows. Have my Pro Max phones ever hurt your hands? Tried it with the 14 Pro Max and it's been hurting, thinking of upgrading or downgrading to a smaller phone. I wouldn't use the term hurt, but yeah, sometimes if you use it one-handed for a while, it can get a little uncomfortable. Drivers have been an issue there forever. Yeah, that's the sad thing. Every time I tell these stories, I hear countless other people tell me they've had similar experiences. Do you think Apple should make an official adapter for wireless Apple CarPlay? No. They don't. Then it's not really wireless. You know, that's you still have to use a wire. I just think the car manufacturers should support wireless. It's that simple. I don't think that's Apple's fault that they don't have it. Any reason why they didn't pull the trigger on the red color for the Pros? It could be all kinds of reasons. Maybe they're saving it for the spring because they really like it. Maybe they saw everyone's interest in it online and said, let's save that for a mid-cycle refresh so that people all feel like they got to go out and buy new iPhones again. Or maybe the durability wasn't very good. They tried red on the titanium finish and they were like, this kind of scratches really easily. The paint doesn't really stick to it. So I agree with the flawlessness of macOS. iMessage on all my devices. I don't know if I'd say it's flawless, but it is pretty dang good. Like, there's still some annoyances I have with it. Like, the volume UI is still dated. I don't know why they haven't switched macOS to the updated volume indicator like they have on tvOS and iPadOS and iOS, even watchOS. They all have this very clean, off-to-the-side volume indicator, but not the Mac. Also, it's much harder on Mac for some reason to cast to 2 pairs of AirPods. On the iPad and the iPhone, that's actually pretty easy, but on the Mac, it isn't. I don't know why they make it so hard. The gaming argument on Mac is because of game devs, not because of Apple. What's my favorite rumored color for the 15 Pro? I don't really like any of them. I guess silver. That's the cleanest one. Someone told me... who was it? I can't remember. Someone told me that the white iPhones dissipate heat better than the non-white iPhones. So if you use your iPhone for recording video, always get the white one because that reflects the heat off better. I don't know if that's true, but the logic is sound. That's kind of how it works with cars. The white cars don't get as hot as the black cars. So I am sick, Diego. My spirits are high, but I don't feel great, unfortunately. That's why my lovely wife made me my hot honey tea, which has helped soothing my voice. Surprisingly, talking has helped a bit. Like this morning, I felt awful. I just felt horrible. I could barely talk, and my head hurt, and I had all this congestion. And then once I started streaming, it slowly, like, I don't know, maybe the vocal cords move the mucus around or something. I don't know. I feel a lot better now. It's kind of hot in here, though. The iMac Pro is spitting out hot air, but it's always hot in here anyway. What do I think about the price increase? Will this be the year? Well, it was last year for all international countries. The only country where the 14 Pros didn't go up in price was the US. So I think it's always safe to assume. I think it's dangerous to go into the event assuming there won't be price hikes. I'd just say, yeah, there probably will be price hikes. If I'm wrong, great. But if I'm right, yeah, it's what we expected. I honestly thought we were lucky that the 14 Pros didn't go up in price last year for the U.S. market. I thought they were going to, and they didn't. But definitely switching to titanium would justify a price hike, in my opinion, because that's objectively going to cost more to make than steel. So just like how the titanium Apple Watches cost more than the steel Apple Watches, it's pretty logical. I do have air conditioning, but it's not in this room. It's an old, small house, so it doesn't have like a central unit. We actually just had an air conditioner installed in the living room. It's a lot easier to put one up in there because of the layout of the house. We talked about getting one installed in here, obviously, because I live stream and work in here for long hours, but it's a lot more complicated because of the layout. We don't have as many options because for a, AC unit, you want to have an exterior wall, and there's this big window here, which is on the wall, and yeah, we mapped it out. It's going to be kind of a headache to try to get one in here, but I don't know. I might just end up live streaming in the living room more. That's not really a big deal. That'd probably be a lot cheaper than getting one installed in here. So it's complicated. I've looked into it, but not as easy as it sounds. I think Europe's price increase was due to inflation and some other geopolitical situations. You need to pay more for your iPhone because of the war going on. I don't think that was it. I think they just wanted they know they unveil the pricing in the keynote for the U.S. market, so they thought the PR would go better if they said it started at a lower price. In-person events honestly kind of suck compared to the online ones. I kind of agree with you. I know a lot of people don't, but most people watch the events online, regardless of if they have it in a big amphitheater or they do it virtually. I think what they're doing now makes so much sense. Like, you invite some people for the demos, and you're at Apple Park, you take the selfies with Tim Cook, and you watch it on the big screen outside, and you feel like, okay, I'm at Apple, and then they have little dummy units for you to play with afterwards, and the press can play around with the features and stuff. And then everybody else gets a way higher production live stream. But yeah, like 99.99% of people watching those events were already watching them virtually. So in my opinion, it makes far more sense to optimize them for online because a very small portion of the viewers are actually in person. You watch a video on a big screen, not like before. Yeah. But a lot of the time, the person on the stage was so far away, you had to watch them on the screen anyway. It's kind of silly. Mac OS and all of Apple's OSs are designed to just work for most users. Windows has a more customizable OS. Yeah, but I bet you'd be surprised how much customization Mac OS has, particularly because of how old it is and also because they allow the side-loading stuff. If you just watch a few videos on great third-party apps or tips and tricks for Mac OS, there's a ton of customization you can do on Mac. Way more than I would ever do, that's for sure. I have friends that got super into the Mac customization, but I was like, okay, that's a little too much for me. I'm okay with it just default vanilla. But there's a ton of widgets and third-party programs and stuff. Yes, many people made Thanos references, especially on X. Which iPhone 15 model am I going to get? Well, I'm just planning on reviewing them at this point. I don't think I'll keep anything, but if they're all available at the same time, I'll probably get the 15 Ultra or Pro Max, whatever it's called. I think I saw a case leak today. I think it is going to be called Pro Max, unfortunately. That's a big bummer too, because I really like the name 15 Ultra. I never liked the name Pro Max. That always sounded stupid to me. Let me try to find it. Who posted it? It's like a new case design. Is that it? No. I'm on Twitter right now. Someone had a phone case that they showcased, and it had the packaging. Where is it? Man, they're making this so hard to find. But yeah, basically, I guess you'll have to take my word for it. But there was a leak of packaging that said 15 Pro Max on it, and it looked pretty legit. It could be fake, I guess, but I was convinced. I was like, that looks pretty darn real to me. I've seen case leaks like that in the past, and they typically, especially if we're this close to launch, they end up being correct. Let's just hope they discontinue the iPad 9 this year so we can finally kill lightning on the iPad too. Pro Max is done, yeah. How's the iPhone 11 holding up? Do I notice not having 5G? No, not really. It's great. It's fine. It's a wonderful phone. No, I've always said from the very beginning, I think I've said this for years now, I mostly wirelessly charge my phone, so I'm not going to switch just for USB-C. I will, however, not buy another iPhone unless it has USB-C, but I don't know how long that'll be. I'm trying to encourage people to hold on to what they have. Right now I have an iPhone 11, so I'm just going to keep rocking that. But I'm not writing anything off. You know, maybe the iPhone 15 has some great new feature that Thunderbolt enables, which I don't know about yet. There could be some software thing like improved continuity camera, or being able to record video straight into your Final Cut timeline or Apple Dex or something. I don't know. There could be some hypothetical feature that comes out that I really like and decide, you know what, this is great. I think I want to keep this. That could happen. Or I could just decide, yeah, this is a great phone, but I don't need it. iPhone 11 is still working fine, and I'll just keep using the iPhone 11. But yeah, I don't want to make a decision before I've tried it, essentially. I don't want to have a predetermined opinion going into it. iPhone 11 is not 720p. I get annoyed by that question that's been happening now for 5 years. It's only 720p. It's 720p. Okay, if you want to get picky about resolutions, it's not 720p. Technically, it's 828p, which is in between 1080p and 720p. And no, your eye cannot see the difference at an average viewing difference. Yeah, it does not bother me. It never bothered me. If you go back and watch my video on the iPhone XR back when it came out, which had the exact same resolution, I've always said the bezels are far more noticeable than the pixel density. Pixel density is overrated. Most people can't see the difference after 300 ppi. There's placebo effects where people are like, they know it's low resolution, so they hold it really close and say, yeah, I can see the pixels, but for most viewing distance, you don't notice. You don't pick up that stuff. And the iPhone 11 just recently came out as still being the most popular phone in use today in 2023. Of all smartphones in use right now, the iPhone 11 is the most popular. So I'm the mainstream guy. Y'all are the weirdos who buy the new iPhones. It's not the best-selling iPhone of 2023, but in regards to phones that are still around and still being used today, iPhone 11 is number one, which is kind of interesting, which means most people don't care about 5G. Keep that message going. Nothing wrong with a 3-year-old phone. Yeah, my phone's about to turn 4, actually. And my wife is using a 6-year-old iPhone. And my sister is also using a 6-year-old iPhone. Yeah, there's nothing. These phones last. They're okay. The people who care about pixel density and resolution were not the target audience. No, but you notice the XR and 11 sold a lot better than the phones with higher pixel densities. Basically, what I'm saying is there's a lot more of me than there are of you. I would go crazy if I switch phones 3 times a year. You just need to get a 15 and settle in with your own phone. My goal was not to switch phones this many times. I just, in the style of Vin Diesel, I put family first, So if my family needs something, I'm going to help them out as much as I can. I will inconvenience myself if it benefits them. And my mom needed a new phone, and my wife wanted the phone I had, and we switched around phones several times, but it was to better the family's experience. Like my wife wanted more storage. My mom wanted a bigger screen. My little sister wanted the same size screen, but she wanted her latest generation apps to work, which is why at first we gave her the iPhone 10, but she didn't want to keep that necessarily because it wasn't getting iOS 17. She didn't care so much about having the best display or the best camera. She just wanted the apps to keep getting software support, and the 10 wasn't going to have that for much longer. So, and she didn't need that much storage. My wife wanted the storage, so we switched her to the 10, sister to the SE, because that had the software support. So everybody got what they wanted. I was left with the iPhone 11. I didn't really want the iPhone 11, but I knew that would be the most convenient for the family. So genuinely, like, every time I downgrade my phone and do a video that I switched, for the record, it wasn't just out of boredom on my part. I wasn't just like, you know what, I'm done with it. It's usually because someone else needed the one I had, and that was more convenient for them. And I like that message because it encourages people to think about how they can be content with what they have, in that you don't need to have the perfect phone that fits your needs perfectly. Like, it's okay that you can adjust, you can adapt, you can go from OLED to LCD. It's okay to have 60 hertz. It's okay to have a home button and whatever, and just try to be realistic about, like, okay, this is your family. You know, how do you help them out, and not try to solve everything with, oh, let's go out and buy 3 new iPhones and spend, $2,000 on new stuff. No, let's just make use of what we have. Let's be resourceful. So I didn't intend to switch this many times, but as far as I'm aware, I think everybody's happy with the phones they have, and I see no reason to switch as of right now. I won't promise anything because every time I do, I feel like something else comes up. But as far as I can tell right now, I should still be good with the 11 for the foreseeable future. Do I think third-party devs will be able to utilize the action button on the 15 Pro, and partly buying the 15 Pro to see what I can develop? I don't know how much you could do with it. All it can really do is launch an app. I mean, it'll probably link to Siri shortcuts. I don't know what a third-party dev would do with it, but yeah, probably. I don't see why not. Why can't it be remappable? I know, I've been playing musical iPhones this year. I don't like switching phones, for the record. I want to just have one phone that I keep using. That would be ideal. Just use what works for you, not everyone else lusts for. I will admit I'm spoiled with a 14 Pro Max. There you go. Acceptance, that's the first stage. Excuse me. Petition to bring back 5.8 inches. Yeah, I'd be signing that petition, please. That was a great screen size. I'm mad that not only do they not have 5.8 inches anymore, but there are rumors that the iPhone 16 Pros are going to be bigger. They're going to be 6.3 inches and 6.9 inches. Nice. Funny number. 6.9 is funny. Why do they just keep getting bigger? Why do these phones... I've been thinking of just replacing the battery on my 11 sometime early next year and keeping it until the 16 comes out next year. That's probably cheaper. Will probably be a lower price solution. Just don't get stuck with the 3GS that you showed us earlier. That wasn't a 3GS, you nerd. This is an iPhone 2G from 2007, and yes, it still works. I need to charge it. Sorry, I don't keep a 30-pin cable around, but it does still charge. Haven't they had the bigger phones rumor since the 14? Yeah, and it's been correct. They said they were going to scrap the Mini for a Plus iPhone, and that happened. And they said there's going to be a 15 Plus, and that seems like it's going to happen, even though the 14 Plus didn't sell that well. And now they're saying the Pros are going to go up in size again, and I'm like, ugh. 6 inches with almost no bezels would be the same physical size as the 5.8. Yeah, that'd be great. I don't think we need to go bigger. I think they know that it makes for great demo. Like when someone walks into an Apple store and holds up their iPhone and then holds up the new iPhone. If the new iPhone has a bigger screen, that just makes a good impression. Does it actually let you do that much more? No. Does it actually unlock that much more functionality? No, it doesn't. But it impresses people when they walk in the store. They just hold it up. They're like, wow, yeah, this one bigger. As long as they make the new one make the old one look dated, then they did their job, I guess. I used to use an eSIM when I reviewed the 14, but obviously I didn't keep the 14, so I switched back to a physical SIM. When you review phones, physical SIM is so much easier, especially because sometimes I review an Android phone. So I like being able to pull the SIM out and just put it in the phone. If you try to do eSIM on everything, it gets so messy. So eSIM is great if you don't switch phones very much, I feel like. If you just upgrade your phone once and you're done, it's fine. But and then you're good for several years. I feel like eSIM is like those little wasp traps. You seen those little yellow cylindrical wasp traps that people hang on their trees? They put a little bait inside the wasp trap, and then they have this little cone with a hole at the top. And the bait attracts the wasp, so it wants to fly up. So it's really, really easy to get inside that little cone if you're a wasp, and then you're stuck in there. But because of how that cone comes up to a point, they can't crawl through the hole properly. They can only go through it one way, but not the other. So I feel like that's how eSIM is. It's really good for moving forward, getting you to upgrade your phone. But if you want to downgrade or go backwards, like I went back to a phone that didn't support eSIM, and I was a giant headache. Excuse me. 6.7 inches too big and 6.1 inches too small. You guys are getting... Apple and Starbucks and all these companies have encouraged everybody to be extremely picky. 6.1, too small, 6.7. It needs to be 6.3489, and it's like, just move it a little further away from your face. It's not that hard. I did it. I'm not that impressive. I went from a 6.7-inch iPhone to a 4.7-inch iPhone, and honestly, it didn't change that much. Sure, if you hold them side by side, it feels different, but you adjust. Your brain just gets rewired a little bit. Okay, you'll hold it here instead of here. Whatever. The last full day before the end of the month. What are you in second in? Does anyone know how long the iPhone SE 2020 will be supported? No, Apple doesn't even know. I'm thinking of getting a brand new sealed one from a store in my city, $280. I guess that's an okay deal, but why? Why does it need to be sealed? What's the emphasis with it being sealed? The one you buy out of the box is probably going to be half the price. It'll probably get 6 years of support, maybe more. People say eSIMs work fine. Well, I want to know how often you switch phones with an eSIM. I think the people who say eSIM is fine switch phones like once and then call it a day. Steps challenge for work. You're in second. Nice. That's really close. Oh, I see. I'm walking and listening to the stream. 33,000 steps down for a work challenge. Good for you, man. That's amazing. iPhone 11 has eSIM. Yeah, but the phone I came from before the 11 and the SE2 did not have eSIM. And the carriers like to charge you money for switching eSIMs. It's harder to charge you money when you're switching physical SIMs. Well, that means it wasn't used. Why do you care if it's used? Whether the battery health is 95 or 100%, the battery, it's a SE2, you're still going to have a bad battery life. eSIM has been a dream come true. I don't know anybody that had that dream. I only went to eSIM when I flipped my service to T-Mobile. I see. I feel like the Titan Gray will be the actual flagship color this year. Probably. I think everybody's interested in the Titan Gray in-between color, but it'll probably be lackluster. SIM cards works of the carriers more than the US. All iPhones need to be 3.14159 inches diagonally. It's like everybody gets so precise now. It's like, you just make it work. It's not that hard. Let's see. MacBooks should have SIMs. Now, there I agree with you. Why the heck does an iPad get cellular but not the MacBook? It makes no sense to me. Still what happened. That's not entirely true. If the iPhone SE2 has been in the box for several years, the battery can still degrade even if it's not being used. There is a cycle life and then there's calendar life. What? Verizon if free unlimited eSIM transfer? Oh, well then it's Verizon. That's the problem. Of course they have free unlimited transfers because you're paying $80 a month. They cover it. But no, I think, who was it? Mint or someone else I followed had, I think it was Visible or something like that. But the cheaper carriers, which are, who I go with because I don't feel like paying $80 a month for cell phone service, they charge a fee for eSIM, but they don't charge a fee for physical SIM. So, at least in my case, I'm not switching to Verizon, or version as you call it. There's autocorrect. Seems like that autocorrect is really great on iOS 17. Did I get the synced lyrics update in YouTube Music? What? They did that? No, I didn't. I want to check it, but my phone is my camera. Dang it. I only like eSIM because it's just one less gasket to fail for water resistance. Yeah, but the water resistant rating didn't change. That's not the limiting factor preventing water resistance. That would be the speaker. The speaker is still the thing you're most worried about if your iPhone is in the water for a while. Let's compare. I'm pretty confident there wasn't a big difference, but let me see. 13 Pro has a SIM, 14 Pro does not. Let me switch to this. Water resistant to a depth of 6 meters for up to 30 minutes. Yeah, I don't think it makes a difference whether you have a SIM tray or not. That's not that hard to make water resistant. I would be more okay with eSIM if it unlocked something like better battery, but it doesn't. They can still ship it with a physical SIM. They just choose to leave it out on the US market, and they replaced the space with the physical SIM with a useless piece of plastic, which annoys me. That's just kind of stupid. What does Wonderlust even mean? Yoris, that's not a bad question. I still don't know, but I genuinely don't care. Probably something, yeah, lust to wonder. Which makes it sound kind of inappropriate, but just because your carrier is worse nationwide and is cheaper does not make eSIM worse. I don't think it makes it better either, especially if nothing is unlocked because of it. Also, I have friends that are on AT&T that had a heck of a time switching to eSIM, and and just because I wouldn't say it's worse nationwide. I would say just because you're comfortable paying 3 times what I'm paying doesn't make eSIM better. Stream crashed for you. Uh-oh. Nothing is saying crashed on my end. It might be your internet, Dylan, but I guess he can't hear me. Is the 13 a better buy over the 14? Yes. No one should have bought the regular iPhone 14. Or 14 Plus. There's no one I would recommend those two. Always 13 or 13 mini. Maybe the iPhone 12 if you don't need the extra battery life. Just use your current iPhone till they drop support. Yeah, maybe even then, keep going. See how far you can get before things start popping up that are like, oh crap, I can't do blank anymore. I want to have more of that discussion. I want to start figuring out how, because I have friends that are still getting by and living with an iPhone 6. I know people that are still on the 6 and the 7, and they're not getting software support, but they're still texting. They're still able to look things up. They're still listening to music and watching videos. So I'm like, okay, we should really start asking ourselves, when is it not enough anymore? Because these are still really capable, really powerful phones with great cameras, good displays, decent batteries, and the tech community is constantly trying to tell you that you're inferior, or you need this, or you need a new one, or you need more of this. I've just heard countless stories. Okay, I had one friend, actually the friend that used to have this iPhone 11 I'm using, he bought a 14 Pro, and he was on the phone with AT&T for several hours trying to get his eSIM working because he had a physical SIM, obviously. So he had to switch to eSIM, and it was not easy. And I had another friend that we know in Hawaii that was traveling overseas in northern parts of Africa, and they were used to being able to pick up physical SIMs in those airports and popping them in their phone. Well, this is not a super techie person, obviously. That's fine. I don't expect everybody to be super techie. Their spouse just bought the phone for them and set them up because this particular lady was not, she was not super tech savvy. So her husband set up the phone for her. It's a 14 Pro because she likes having a good camera. So she gets to this country and she gets the physical SIM and then realizes, oh crap, I can't put this in. Why? Because Apple decided eSIM was superior. Okay, those are just two anecdotal stories. I've heard countless others online. Nick had a heck of a time too. I think he explained that on the podcast, how much he hates eSIM. He's not on the same carrier as I am. He's on some Verizon sub-plan, but it's still Verizon, like you said. And it was some big pain in the butt to get the SIM card, the eSIM, to activate properly. So all of this for the sake of that tiny little piece of plastic that gets put in the phone that enables nothing for the service. That's why I'm not a big fan of it. It doesn't really fix anything. And they're not pushing us to a better standard, because with the removal of the headphone jack, Apple had the solution. They had designed the solution. It was AirPods and Bluetooth headphones, which were fairly simple and not that crucial. A lot of people don't even listen to music on their phones, I discovered. That was a surprising realization. But for one, they included the adapter, so you could still plug in the headphones if you needed them via the Lightning port. And sure, there was a bit more of an expensive solution, but you could just easily open up this pair of AirPods, put them in, and boom, you had this wireless experience that was so much better. I don't have that same opinion on eSIM to physical SIM. What does it unlock? What does it enable that wasn't possible before? Very little. And it is more prone to causing headaches. And they're still offering it. It'd be different if they got rid of the headphone jack in the US, but then kept it on every other iPhone across the globe. That would be weird. Traveling to Africa seems like an extreme edge case. Okay, it's still more common than needing a tiny piece of plastic on your phone that does nothing, which is what they replaced it with. The extra space for the SIM card inside the phone will eventually be utilized once all the regions catch up. Well, when they do that, I'll be more on board with it, but they're not doing that. It sounds like even with the 15 series, they're still keeping it internationally, which once again makes the US version stupid. If they did utilize it, you'd have an argument, but they haven't yet, and it sounds like they're not going to. Hopefully we will get another SIM slot in Germany. My mobile phone providers charge 28 euros for an eSIM. There you go. Again, the problem is with the whole eSIM switch is Apple didn't have the solution. They removed something, but they pushed the responsibility onto the carriers. And carriers suck. I'm sorry, all of them. None of them are very good. That's why I go with the cheapest one possible. Carriers love to upcharge you. They love to charge you fees for eSIM. Yeah, a lot of people see family in Africa or go to places where eSIM is not ready, but they buy the phone in the US because that's where they live. There's tons of reasons to keep it, very little advantages to getting rid of it. So until they start showing advantages of getting rid of it, I'm not going to be on board with it. If Apple had a solution for it that was more creative and unlocked something that was more practical, I would agree, but they didn't really do that. I'd love to travel to the Antarctica when I get older. Good for you. I hope you enjoy that. Hey, Peterman Valley. Wow, it has been a long time. Great to see you still in the game. Excited to finally upgrade my 12 Pro Max to the 15 Pro Max. Been waiting on that. Yeah, I know. It feels like it never was going to happen, but here we are. Skylar Kelch says, I had a bumpy ride switching to eSIM, but I think the bigger hurdle was switching carriers rather than switching SIM formats. I don't know. I bet if they would have just sent you a SIM in the mail. I switched from Verizon to Mint with a physical SIM. It was super easy. Seriously, it's legitimately like so simple to just have the little thing in the mail. Put this in your phone. Okay. You're done. Instead of this like, okay, go into settings, go to IMEI, type in this 14 character code. Okay, restart the phone. You know, it's just, I heard countless stories from friends, family members, everywhere online complaining about this whole eSIM thing. And it's one of those things you do once, and then you never want to do it again, which encourages you to not, I guess, return your new phone because it's a headache. I had a heck of a time switching away from the 14 Pro. It's a trap. Where I live in Asia, the adoption rate for eSIMs is slow, and yes, carriers suck, except for MVNOs. Yeah. I mean, they all have their problems. I'm not saying they're flawless, but if they're all going to suck, then your best bet is getting the cheapest one possible. And Visible is the best Verizon service. It is more like Mint pricing. Yeah, I've heard good things about Visible, but once again, that's what Nick is on, and he had a horrible time switching to eSIM. Is that how that works? I thought you got like a QR code or something. No, it's just they send you a little credit card size thing in the mail with a little SIM card in it, and you just punch it out, and then you put it in the phone. Now, boom, there's your phone number. Why did carriers charge for eSIM? It's free for them, unlike a physical SIM. I don't think it's free, technically. I think they have to come up with a new IMEI code or something. I think Verizon probably just waives the fees because they're charging you so much anyway. You're paying top dollar. So they just cover that fee because they're making so much money off you. But the MVNOs that are charging very little have to charge that fee to cover the cost of developing the new code, which has something to do with a database because the phone number systems in different countries and stuff. eSIMs are paired with iCloud. When you're setting up an iPhone, it asks if you want to transfer the eSIM. That's how it's supposed to work. I think switching an eSIM phone to an eSIM phone is a lot easier likely, but it's not always that simple. My secondary SIM is visible, so I can use millimeter wave in areas that are less good for T-Mobile. Does that come up a lot, that you need ultra wideband? I don't know. I'm sure physical SIMs cost something, but I haven't seen completely free data plans when you go overseas. New tech is hard and takes adjustment period. Plus, once you switch over, most people are done. Yeah, but there was a better way to switch, basically, which was to try to work with the existing carriers and get them to eSIM faster. But I think it was just, the problem was Apple wasn't in control of it. That's where I disagree. Apple has removed things and told people to get on with the new tech before, but usually Apple has the solution. In this case, they did not. They pushed all the liability onto the carriers, and the carriers are not good at it. But yeah, we can disagree. That's fine. But whatever you say is not going to convince me that all of the horror stories I've heard did not happen. It's not a need, but it's a really nice to have. Why is it nice to have? What are you going to do on the phone where you notice that difference? Only times millimeter wave is useful for me is crowded areas. So when you're in crowded areas trying to live stream or what? Like, I don't visualize the scenario, I guess. If I switch from 13 mini to regular 13, I can use the same SIM, same carrier. Sorry if this is a dumb question. I think so, as long as it's unlocked. IMEIs are paired with the actual phone. The setup process for a physical SIM and eSIM are identical. Verizon's website has the same. Well, I mean, you can't say they're identical when one is physical and one is not. Verizon may have a different chain of events, but all I know is there was a bunch of headaches with people that were tech savvy and not tech savvy. Most people don't want to deal with the paperclip and the tiny hole fiddle with the microscopic card. I don't know. I know a lot of people that don't want to deal with the eSIM, dude. I think the vast majority of people were upset about the removal of the physical SIM. I don't think you'll get the average consumer card with this one. I'm still torn apart between getting a 15 Pro or Galaxy Ultra. What are your thoughts on both phones? Well, look at my background. What do you think I'm going to recommend? I don't know what you're going to get, but if you go with the Galaxy Ultra, don't buy new because Android phones depreciate way faster than iPhones, so you can get a cheaper used one, probably for half price within 6 months or whatever. The problem is carriers are handling eSIM setup differently. Yes, that's true. Different carriers have different setup processes, and some were prepared for it and some were not. Correct. Xfinity didn't even know about eSIM until a month after the iPhone 14s came out. That was a huge problem too. I have family members on Xfinity internet. No, I don't have to call the company to activate the... It depends on the carrier, I guess, but I didn't have to call anyone to activate the physical SIM. No, it's not. I made this argument already. It's not the same as the headphone jack because Apple had the solution. Apple included an adapter. They came out with wireless headphones that were vastly easier and simpler to use than wired headphones. Now there's not a wire going to your phone anymore. You just open the case and hit connect. Apple was in control of the solution. Apple is not a carrier. So when they got rid of the physical SIM, they pushed all of that change, all of that responsibility onto the carriers. They didn't have a solution. They just said, let the carriers handle it. And they didn't handle it very well. I'm happy that some of you were able to get it working properly because you pay for a super expensive carrier. But for a lot of us, it was not ready. And it's in my opinion kind of naive to just say, oh, well, just because you had a bad experience doesn't mean it's a bad idea. Everybody should just get over it. It's like, I mean, that's the whole Bendgate thing. People will whine a lot about the carriers, but this will never change, sadly. Well, I mean, whose fault is it for is it Apple's fault or the carrier's fault for pushing more responsibility onto the carriers? Apple should be a carrier, I agree. Older ones are less durable than traditional ones. That's interesting. Every time I upgraded my physical SIM phones in the past, the card trays were not the same size? Really? Must have not upgraded very much, because they've been the same size for a while now. But they have the backwards adapters too. I remember those, where you could fit the newer SIM in the older slot. Yeah, carriers suck, I agree, but there was a standard. There was nothing wrong with it. If Apple utilized the extra space in the phone, you'd have a point, but they didn't. So it just is stupid. It's just a U.S. problem. I'm glad it was easy for you, for the record. I'm happy that it was a seamless transition for you. And I'm happy that my iPhone 6 didn't bend. But that doesn't mean that none of them bent, okay? That doesn't mean the design was flawless because I didn't have a problem, right? Or are we going to make the argument that my iPhone 6 didn't bend, therefore Bedgate was not real? My carrier Xfinity still doesn't have the auto transfer system set up. There's Randy. I love you too. Let's see. Your opinion on Apple's iPhone upgrade program. This is a program I'm thinking about using. I wouldn't do it. It just seems like a easy way to convince you to get people to buy the new iPhone every year without thinking about it. It doesn't matter if the new iPhone is good or not. You're on the program now, so you feel like you have to get it. eSIM, a pain in the butt when you have more than one phone you want to switch out. Thank you, Consumer Compute. This would not be a controversial topic if most people were okay with it. That's my point. That's why there's a debate going on in the chat. Some carriers were ready and some were not. That's just a fact. I was going from older SIMs to newer. Back in the day, I went from a 3GS to a 5S. Oh, yeah. Well, that would have the older SIM for sure. There's Randy. What's up? I'm doing okay. It's been a busy day. I had surgery earlier, and I think the numbness of the shots they gave me is wearing off, so I'm feeling a little bit of discomfort, but it's not bad. I'm not hungry, so hungry people must not exist. Yeah, it's that kind of logic. If you're hungry, just go eat something. Come on, why are there hungry people? My iPhone 6 didn't bend, it folded. Oh, there you go. Politics in the carrier space is horrific. Oh, yeah. Well, everything carriers is horrific, which is why I tend to... Part of the reason I use Mint is not flawless, by the way. That's why I don't have a sponsorship with them. They tried to sponsor my channel several times, and I said, no, I'm not going to sign any contracts because I want to be able to say whatever I want to say about you. If you do something stupid, I want to be able to critique it. And all that being said, despite the fact that they've made mistakes and they've done things I don't like, the reason I like them is because, for one, they're very affordable compared to the big guys. And for two, they encourage you to pay once a year, not once a month, which means I just pay once and then I don't have to think about the stupid billing problems that I'm already experiencing with T-Mobile with my home internet. That's not even a cell phone plan, but they already do this. Oh, the auto pay discount doesn't work anymore. We need you to switch to this. Or we tried to charge your credit card and it didn't go through, so we charge you a $5 fee. Oh, because our auto pay system failed, we didn't notify you, but because it failed, that means you missed a payment, so we're going to charge you a late fee. I've had to call them so many times just for the basic home internet plan, and I hate this whole monthly billing process. I wish I could I just pay it for the next 5 years right now? Could we just be done with this? I don't want to have to fuss, and that's what I like about Mint. I pay once a year, and then I'm good. I don't have to think about it. It's very simple. I don't like to work with carriers. I don't like to do anything carrier related. So if I was really tempted to go with that Bobby Badia plan, genuinely, I thought that was really tempting. I almost did it, but it was a little too long term for me. I thought there's a chance this company could go bankrupt or bought out and change the terms or something. But there was a time. There you go, Randy. He says the auto pay on T-Mobile still infuriates me. Exactly. I'm paying $50 a month for my home internet. There was a time where they offered you a one-time payment for 25 years of service. You get a locked-in rate for 25 years if you paid $2,500, which works out to... That sounds like a lot. Like, oh my God, $2,500, that's crazy. But then you think about it. That's $100 a year. If $100 a year divided by 12, that's $8 a month for cell phone service. Now, granted, it didn't offer a ton of data, so it wasn't a screaming good deal. If it was like maybe 10 or 15 gigs a month or unlimited data a month, I probably would have done it. I was really tempted to do it, but I think it was only like 5 gigs a month, which was a little low. So ultimately I didn't do it, but I was really close to doing it because I just liked the idea. I was just tempted to it simply out of the concept of not having to think about cell phone bills for 25 years. Could you imagine not having a cell phone bill until 2047? That part, I mean, who cares about the data offer? I just love that idea that I wouldn't have a cell phone bill until the mid-2040s. Like, that blew my mind. I was like, oh, that sounds so nice. You just pay once and then you're just good for years and years, for decades. I love that idea, but the data offering was just a little too low. Because I knew in the next couple years I could probably live with 5 gigs, but if we're talking more like, you know, by 2040, 5 gigs is probably not going to be that much. In 2040, 5 gigs will be the equivalent of today's like 100 megabytes. So it would probably be progressively more worthless as time went on, and then you'd probably regret it. Yeah, apparently Ryan Reynolds tweeted that like 150 people signed up for that plan, which is kind of cool. Hungry people do exist. I'm eating fried chicken and French fries. Oh, man, that sounds good, Nick. The price for a year with Mint is 2 months of payments with Verizon. That's hilarious. Wow, that really gives you perspective. 2 months of Verizon is 1 year on Mint. They should run that as a campaign. I would pay more than $8 for Apple Music and YouTube Premium. Yeah. Jeez, does anybody really believe we'll have cell phones in 2047? I do. Yeah, I don't think anything's going to replace the cell phone. Yeah, you're betting. The bigger problem is you're betting on the company. You're assuming that this company is going to exist in 25 years, which is kind of a big bet. I don't even know if Verizon will exist in 25 years. Sorry to be morbid, but I wonder if there's anyone who died shortly after buying 25 years of service. I mean, it was like 150 people a year or two ago. It's possible. Someone could take over the phone plan, though. Like their relative could use it or something. What happens if the company goes bankrupt? Yeah, that's the question. A lot of people didn't do it for that reason, because they're like, we don't know. Yeah, it's a long-term bet, but it could potentially pay off if the company does well. $49.99. Well, it's like a penny cheaper than T-Mobile, but yeah. Yeah, I get speeds sometimes around 300. I'm mainly more interested in upload. I think download is overrated. Once you get over 100 megabits download, for me, it all kind of blurs together because I rarely download huge files or anything like that. But excuse me. I'd be willing to buy a 5-year plan. Yeah, I think I would too. I'd be curious if they offered that. I'd love to commit to the long-term things like that. I don't think Cellular made it to 25. I don't think AT&T have been around that long as a business either. I'll fact check that. Well, AT&T was part of an older company, I think, before they were AT&T. There originally was just like one phone company, and then the government broke them up into what is now Verizon, AT&T, and all the other ones. And then they start merging together. But I don't think we'll have smartphones. Oh, yeah. I genuinely don't see anything replacing the smartphone in my lifetime. Verizon Home Internet gets 20. Well, it depends on where you are. T-Mobile gets, it depends on the time of day. Sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 40, sometimes I've seen it get up to 60. Definitely way better than Comcast was offering in my area, but Alpha says, smartphones aren't going away anytime soon. The reason why the iPhone was amazing was because it combines multiple products into one. You'd have to combine the whole iPhone into something else. Good point. That would be really difficult. Pac Bell. Yeah, that was the name. Thank you. I couldn't remember. Singular was SBC Bell South joint venture, so it isn't like Singular went away, just became AT&T Mobility. Well, that kind of thing. When there's mergers and stuff, they don't necessarily honor the old plans you committed to. Which iPhone 15 rumor do I think will end up not being true? There's always one big letdown. There hasn't been much I've thought didn't sound believable. I guess it might not be Thunderbolt. That would be a big bummer. Maybe ProRes is still capped at 4K at 30. I don't think the buttons will be solid state, but I think most of the leak community agrees with me on that. Maybe they don't up the storage to 256. Oh, you know what? You know what leak happened that I don't really think is going to happen? There was some people claiming that Pros were going to go to 2 terabytes of storage. I just think it's a little too soon for that. I could be wrong. Maybe Apple is that crazy, but I wouldn't be shocked if we don't get 2 terabytes. That one seems like a bit of a stretch. But anyway, well, it depends on if you have millimeter wave in your area. I definitely don't here, that's for sure. But no, Vision Pro won't replace the smartphone. It can't replace the taking selfies. It can't replace the easy being able to show people screens. The 3rd or 4th generation Vision Pro aren't going to be as cheap as smartphones. The battery life is going to be substantially limited compared to smartphones. I don't think that Vision Pro in the iPhone have to fight for market share. I think they can both exist. They can both work together. The rounded edges are still rumored to happen. The Thunderbolt cables included with the iPhone Pros were leaked. I don't think they're Thunderbolt. I think they're just braided Type-C cables, but yeah. Anyway, I got to get going now, but I appreciate the super chats and the channel members, all you guys for tuning in. It's been a lot of fun. It's time for me to head out again. Try to enjoy some air conditioning now. And let's see, 2 terabyte phone comes out. People, 4 terabyte. I know, right? That's exactly what will happen. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care. Stay cool. Bye-bye.